way. It's true. It's true.
So Hawkeyes or Cyclones?
You know what? I have to evenly love them both.
Okay.
I know. I'm a Cyhawk. That's what they call it. A Cyhawk.
Can everybody see us? Okay.
We're a little bit screechy.
I know.
Uh-oh.
I
Keep
know.
it close. Keep it away. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We were waiting for you. That's okay. Just before you got here, we all shared a secret we've never shared with anybody before. It's your turn.
I think it does.
Is that? Can you hear us still?
Yes.
Okay, and that is better. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so hey, thanks for coming out here this evening, folks, on this really incredibly gorgeous November day. Enjoy it. It's not going to last forever, but boy, is it lovely right now. We are here to celebrate Nicole Baart's newest novel, Where He Left Me. Nicole, you heard a little bit about Nicole, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Nicole. Nicole and I go way back. We share both an agent, best agent in the business, and we share a publisher, Atria Books. I first became aware of your work, I think, with...
It's a long time ago.
I think it was with Sleeping in Eden,
Oh, okay.
which was really kind of your first foray into the psychological suspense you have honed to perfection. So you have 9 novels now to your name?
12.
12 novels. So you wrote a few before I discovered you. Yeah.
That's okay.
And Nicole calls Sioux Center, Iowa, her home. Lovely town. She's married to a wonderful guy named Aaron, who's lurking somewhere. And as was mentioned just very briefly, Nicole and Aaron are responsible for a nonprofit organization, One Hope, One Body, One Body, One Hope.
Yep.
One Body, One Hope, which works significantly with the people of Liberia to help improve the lives of everyone there. Did I get that okay?
You did.
All right,
Exactly.
all right.
Yeah.
But as I said, we're here to talk about Where He Left Me. And so Where He Left Me, I've got a few things to say about it. Book List called it a haunting exploration of love, secrets, and survival. Publishers Weekly said it is a shrewdly coiled plot that results in an unsettling portrait of isolation and anxiety that will get under the reader's skin. I absolutely agree. BookTrib hailed it as a richly atmospheric, deeply unsettling journey. And me, I found it compelling as hell. I gobbled it up pretty much in one sitting. And here's one more thing to add to all of that. It is a Book of the Month Club selection, which is huge. Congratulations. So why don't we begin by having you talk a little bit about, give the folks an idea of the story of Where He Left Me, and then talk a little bit about, well, go ahead with that first.
Okay. I'm not sure my microphone's working anymore. Is it?
Here.
No. We'll just go like this.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Yep.
Then after you have told them about it, why don't you read just a little bit to give them an idea of who you are as a storyteller. Are you prepared for that?
I don't have a book, but I'll take yours. I
Okay.
can just read from the beginning if that's okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so Where He Left Me is the story of Sadie Sheridan. She is a newlywed in her early 40s who moves with her husband to his abandoned homestead in the North Cascades of Washington. They're both there for a sabbatical, and they live for a couple of months in relative peace. She's not a big fan of the mountains or the place where she is, but her husband leaves for a work trip, and after a couple of days he fails to return. So she doesn't know if he's lost, if something happened, if he abandoned her, but she's alone on the mountain as a winter storm bears down, and she very quickly realizes that she's not alone. So that's the premise of the story. And it unravels from there, and I will read just a little bit of the prologue for you. The night was black and thick with ghosts. Shadows peeled from the branches, fingers of fog poking through the dark forest just steps from where Sadie stood trembling. She was barefoot, wearing nothing but Felix's old sweatshirt and a damn fool. A scream had dragged her from bed, sent her racing through the unfamiliar house and down the front porch steps. Her whole world was reduced to cold grass, a throb of tangled trees, the jut of a craggy peak, shiny as a dragon's scale in the light of a quarter moon. It was an animal. It had to be. Something small and injured. Maybe a coyote? A wolf? But it didn't sound like any of those things. It sounded human.
Yeah, let's give it up.
I'm really sorry. I'll keep it for here.
Is the other one not working?
That's okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So this sounds like it's a Woman in Jeopardy story, and it is not.
Okay, good.
It is so different from that. But one of the things I would like you to talk about first is the setting for this story. It is a profoundly important character in the novel, and it's different for you because all of the books that I've read by you, and I think I've read everything except apparently 3 of them, are set in the Midwest, which is, your home turf. It's where you live and know and love. And this is set in the Pacific Northwest in the Cascade Mountains, the very far northwest in Washington. 2 questions then. Why did you choose to set the novel there? And what kind of research? What's the connection there? And what kind of research did you have to do to make it real?
Absolutely. So, like Kent said, my first several books are set in the Midwest, and I did that so intentionally because I love the Midwest. I love where we live. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's often forgotten, or the flyover states, right? So I've been very passionate about painting Iowa in particular, but also Minnesota. I have some books set in Minnesota, just as this beautiful place where wonderful people live and exist and have incredible lives that are worth reading about. However, for this one, I decided to go elsewhere, and that was really intentional. My husband is from Vancouver, British Columbia. We lived there for several years, and I loved it. I loved the mountains. We did a lot of hiking. We did bush camping where we'd take our car and just drive it up a logging road and park it somewhere, just off the side, so that hopefully a logging truck wouldn't hit it on the way down the mountain. And we'd go off and camp in the middle of nowhere. So I fell in love with that setting. It's another one of my homes, and I really wanted to write about it. Now, Hemlock House, the homestead where she lives, is based off of the home that we lived in when we were in British Columbia. Yeah. So for the first couple of years that we were there, we lived in a basement suite in a suburb called Surrey, and it was okay for a while, but I'm a prairie girl, and I like wide open spaces, and being in the suburbs like that was just not my thing. So I went to work one day, and one of my coworkers said to me, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I know this guy who has an old farmhouse on 19 acres, and he wants to rent it out. Nobody wants it. It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of a junkyard. Like, there's not much out there. Are you interested? Yes. Like, sign me up immediately. We will move there tomorrow. And yeah, we moved into that house. The first time my mother saw it, she cried. My baby can't live here. But yeah, it was on 19 acres in the middle of nowhere, built in 1880 with the original windows in the house, so that when the packs of coyotes would roam through our yard at night and howl, our windows would rattle in the frames. But it was mysterious and beautiful, and we were very alone out there, and that's where Hemlock House came from.
Did you have to go back just to touch base?
Well, yeah, for sure. we go to BC all the time, so it's very much home. I probably would have set the book there, except for books set in the United States sell better. So I just put it right over the border from where we were living and called it Washington State. So yeah, based on our experiences out there.
It's an incredibly powerful evocation of that place. I spent time living in Cascade Mountains as well, and you just captured it so beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll tell you where the story came from if you're at all interested, or where
Yeah.
the inkling of the story came from. So we go back to BC all the time, at least once a year, usually more than that if we can. And whenever we have the opportunity, we're hiking. So in 2022, and I had to look it up because I took a photograph, and I went back and found the picture. But in 2022, we were back in BC with our family, and we were hiking the trail to Brandywine Falls. And our kids aren't big hikers, but they knew that there was a waterfall at the end, and they were super excited to get there. So they're taking off down the trail. And as we're walking, we crossed train tracks that ran perpendicular to the trail. It was a perfect Pacific Northwest day. It's misty, it's raining just a little bit. There's like droplets of water in the trees, and the fog is hanging in the branches of the trees. It's just beautiful. So we cross this train track, and I am stunned. I just think it's so beautiful. So I told my husband, go ahead with the kids. They were running on ahead. I want to take some pictures. So I did. I stopped and I snapped some pictures of this train track. And if you go to my social media, you'll find it. It's there just a couple of posts back. I posted it a while back. And as I was done taking the final picture, I took the camera down, and I had this moment where I was convinced that something crossed the tracks just out of sight. Like, it was upright. It wasn't a bear. I'm like, that couldn't have been a bear. It wasn't a wolf. It wasn't an elk. Like, something crossed the tracks. Like, was it a Sasquatch?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would have ended up in a different kind of story.
But if you live in the Pacific Northwest, you have to, or Southwest, if you're in British Columbia, you have to believe in Bigfoot to some extent. But I just had this moment where I thought, what if we're not alone? What if we're out on this mountain, we think there's nobody else there, and there's somebody out there? Like, who would they be, and why would they be out there? And do they have nefarious intent? And that was the seed that started where he left me.
You know, whenever I'm asked where a story comes from, I'm nonplussed.
Really?
I don't know where the hell it came from. Dropped into my lap one day.
Lucky you. That's awesome.
So, character. Setting is a character, but you have some dynamic characters in this story. Unforgettable characters in this story. So there's Sadie. There is her husband, Felix. There is, and then there are a couple of other characters. I won't go too much into those because I don't want to give too much away. But can you talk about where your characters for this particular story have come from?
Yeah. Sadie and Felix are both in their 40s, and I've been told on numerous occasions, sorry, I'm spotting people I know. I've been told on numerous occasions that people don't want to read books about women who are older than their 20s. Like 35 is about as high as you can go. And I thought that was garbage. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I love women in their 20s. I love women in their 30s. They're fantastic. They're amazing. I used to be one. But I'm not anymore. And I wanted to write about a woman who was confident and self-assured and in her 40s and discovering love for the first time and making her way in the world, and yeah, who just had a lot of agency and wasn't, some shrinking violet, but was going to take charge of her own situation. So that's where Sadie came from. And I gave her a really, really cool husband who is obsessed. Well, he's a professor of planetary sciences and an astrophysicist for NASA. And I love him. I think he's absolutely fascinating. And then there's some really cool characters, but you have to read the book to find out, because I don't want to give it away.
But I do want to ask you about one character.
Sure.
We had dinner last night, Nicole and I, and her husband, my wife, and we're at Christo's.
Oh, sweet.
It was great.
I highly recommend the Saganaki.
It was good, but it's a wonderful show. And we were talking about a character. We won't go into the story very much, but a character named Finn. And you were telling me about your youngest child. Could you talk about Finn and your youngest child?
You want me to tell the story from last night?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I have 5 kids, and my youngest is 15 years old, and I'm really glad he's not here because I can tell the story and he'll never know. But when his name is Matthias, we call him Tyus. When Tyus was born, we knew that there was just something really special about this kid. Like, his EQ, his emotional quotient, is just off the charts. He understands people, and he understands, he just loves people very, very deeply. So this is the child who, have you seen the movie Up? Yeah? Okay. You know the scene where, I forget his name, but the main character is looking through the photo album of his life, and he has this beautiful moment where, so he married this wonderful woman, and as he's flipping through the photo album, it goes through their life. They fall in love, they get married, they try to have a baby, and they can't have a baby, and it's really, really sad, and then she dies. So I'm watching this movie with my children. Tyus is 2 years old, he's wearing nothing but a diaper because babies run hot. And I have my arm around his belly like this, and I'm crying, trying not to show my kids that I'm crying. And all of a sudden, I can feel my arm get wet, which is alarming when your child is wearing a diaper. Like, oh no, shoot! Like, did I not change him recently or whatever? So I whipped him around and I picked him up, and he's not wet, he's crying. This child is sobbing, he's 2. I'm like, buddy, what's wrong? sad. He says it's so sad.
At 2.
At 2, I know. And this is still my son. At 8, we would find him crying in bed because there are kids in the world that don't have a mom that loves them like you love me. And he's just a really tender heart, and I love him so much. And he factors into the book a little bit.
Yeah. You mind really good, rich territory there.
Thank you.
One of the things that fascinated me about the story is all of the astrological stuff. There's just a wealth of information about astronomy and the myths that surround that, and what's in the heavens when, and where did that come from?
I had a friend text me last night. She's like, I just finished the book. Did you get a degree I didn't know about? A couple of years ago, Aaron and I were in Arizona. He works for a university, and they do a fundraising event down there every year. And we're down for this fundraising event, and they had an astrophysicist and a professor of planetary sciences who was there. And after the last session, he said, if anybody wants to come outside and look at the stars, you can. So what I didn't know about Arizona is that it is some of the best stargazing in the world. I had no idea. They don't have street lights. All of their roads are illuminated, like with glowing things that I don't really understand.
Pointed down.
Yeah, pointed down, et cetera, et cetera. So there is no light pollution. So we went out. I had very low expectations, but we laid on the grass. You know, I'm from Iowa. I'm from the Midwest. We know stars. Like, we see stars all the time. I wasn't prepared for a lot. Well, I lay down in the grass, and he hands us binoculars, and we looked through telescopes, and he gave us all sorts of information and whatnot. I didn't realize, much like my son, until about half an hour into it, that my ears are getting wet. And it's because I'm crying. Like, it was such a powerful experience. It was so profound. I had no idea the universe was that big, and it just hit me. It kind of blew me away. So when I was conceptualizing this book, I thought, wouldn't it be fun if Felix does this? Like, if he is into the stars, and it ties into their relationship and them finally finding each other in their 40s. And there's nothing about astrology in it. It's all just straight scientific facts of astronomy and how big the universe is. So I taught myself the concept of inflationary cosmology, which essentially means that when the Big Bang happened, before there was a bang, there was an implosion before there was an explosion. And because it imploded before it exploded, the universe continues to expand to this day. So the universes that exist are beyond our comprehension. Like, we can't even begin to grasp how many universes there are in the world. And that was just kind of the romantic basis of this book, I guess.
That was beautiful. The structure of this story is interesting as well. You have a third-person narrative, and you have a first-person narrative. Third-person narrative tells the story of Felix and Sadie, how they came to be. The first person is immediate in the situation where Sadie finds herself caught. Could you talk about why you chose two different narrative approaches?
So the book is all, when I wrote the book, my desire was to make it really immediate. Like, I wanted the reader to be in this moment with Sadie as she's realizing that she's alone and she's in danger. So yeah, that's the first person narrative. It's right there. I wrote the whole book that way and turned it in. And then my agent was like, it's fun, like, it's a really good book, but the emotional connection isn't there because from the very beginning of the book, Felix is gone. And throughout the entire book, he's gone. So we know that Sadie loves him and is passionate about him and desperately wants to find him, but we don't connect to that emotionally. So I actually wrote those sections after the book was already done. So the ones where we go back start with the night that Sadie meets Felix and go all the way through until the moment that they move to Hemlock House in the Cascades. And it just kind of tells you who they are and how they fell in love and what their relationship is. So I hope it gives that emotional connection that was missing the first time around.
So, was that when you had to go back and do the research to make Felix who he is and all of the knowledge that he shares with Sadie? Is that when you had to do that research? Or had you already done it?
I had already done all of that research. I read like all the Neil deGrasse Tyson books, which is basically astronomy for dummies, because I had been really interested in it. And then once I started writing their story, it was so fun to be able to put that stuff in there. So any fact that you come across about the universe in this book is 100% true. Like, I took it straight from a book. I didn't plagiarize. It's a fact. So, yeah.
One of the many things that I like about your stories are that there is a significantly sinister element to them. There is a darkness, there's a threat, but somehow in the end you always find a way to offer hope. Where does that come from?
Oh man, I think that's our story, right? Every single person sitting here knows what it's like to lose someone. You know what Sadie is feeling in the moment when she realizes that Felix isn't coming back. And you may not live in the Cascades and have your husband go away and never come back. But you do know what it's like to lose someone to death, to a relationship that fell apart, to a move, whatever. Like, we all have that inside of us. So it's easy for me to see the humanity in all of my characters, even the ones who are bad, because I don't believe that anybody is inherently 100% evil down to their core. Like, we all have good inside of us, right? And we all have the capacity for evil inside of us. So it's easy for me to love my characters, even the bad ones.
Yeah. Well, as a storyteller, I always like it when there is some hope offered. Yeah. Could I ask you to do something else for me?
Maybe.
Actually, for these folks here. So probably all of you have, and if you don't want to go here after I set this up,
Okay.
feel free to say, go to hell, Kent. But this is really interesting.
Okay.
Probably all of you, many of you, may have this image of what it is to become a published author. You write a good manuscript, you spend the time researching and finding, finally, an agent who believes in your work. The agent does her job and finds you a publisher who you hope will believe in your work. The novel gets published and all the rest is history. Yeah, that's a nice myth, huh?
Not true.
You shared with me and to Diane last night the difficult journey that this book had in finally getting onto the shelves. Would you be willing to share that?
Yeah, sure.
It is such an, it will open your eyes in many, many ways to what publishing is actually like, working with the publishing world.
I think that the publishing industry is a close-knit family. Like, everybody kind of knows everybody else, which is really wonderful. And everybody who works in publishing, at least in my experience, is a reader and loves books. Like, they're there because they love books and they love working with people who write stories and they want to get good stories out in the world. So I love everybody that I've worked with, throughout the entire process.
She has to say that in case word gets back to
I mean it. I do very sincerely mean it. So this book was done, and my editor wasn't able to stay with me. So I got an email in January. The book was done. It was mostly edited, and she was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to pass you off to somebody
And
else."
this was the acquiring editor, which is important. This is the person who believed in her work from the beginning, offered her a lot of money to let them publish it. That's an important point. That's an important, important
Yeah.
person in the
Yeah,
whole process.
absolutely.
Whom you lost.
Whom I lost, and I'm a very loyal person. I've been with the same agent for 20 years now. Like, I like my people, and I like to hang on to them. So it was hard. Like, it broke my heart. I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? So she handed me off to somebody else. I instantly fell in love with her. Oh my goodness, she was absolutely amazing. We connected over phone, over Zoom. It was wonderful. 5 weeks later, she was promoted, which was wonderful. I was so happy for her, but she was promoted to a different imprint. So I was handed to somebody else. So Number three, yep. So I flew to New York City and met her and instantly connected. She's a Midwestern girl. I absolutely loved her. I just was so excited about working with her. And a couple of months later, she quit the industry. So, 4 editors on one book. And it is what it is. That each one of them was wonderful in their own way. contributed to the book in their own way, and yet getting that book over the finish line and feeling like they like it and they want to publish it and people are going to want to read it. It's hard sometimes to keep the faith throughout that. But
Because one of the things that's so important to any book, you are taken on by a large publishing house. Atria Books is a division of Simon & Schuster, very large publishing house. Imagine how many authors they publish every year, and how much every author would love to have promotional money, marketing money, co-op money, and somebody has to be your champion in the mix to make sure that your name gets put out there. Nicole, this book is great. She really deserves a huge marketing campaign, promotion money, co-op, you know. If you don't have that, it's so hard to make the book rise.
yeah, it really, really is. And I really do have a fantastic team behind me, and my publicist and my marketing director, I'm not sure what they do or what they did or what strings they pulled, but it was an instant USA Today bestseller. So that happened yesterday for some
I
reason.
didn't
That's never happened before. We're 12 books in, so it is a long journey in the same direction to try to pull off a publishing career, unless you're a blockbuster debut, which does happen too, but that did not happen to me. That is not my story.
Yeah, I didn't hit the New York Times list until my 10th novel. So it's,
okay.
it's a
That makes me
journey.
feel a little better.
Then I did really well.
I know. I told Kent, everybody's here for you today, so
I
I'm
don't
just
think
glad
so,
I get
I
to
don't
sit
think
with
so.
you.
Or I'm hoping that those people who came because of me are now here and are going to buy Nicole's book because Nicole is who she is. In just a minute, I'm going to open it up for any of you folks who would like to ask Nicole a question, to do that for me if you wanted to. But what's next? What are you working on now?
Oh, I have a book out with my new editor, who I hope likes me and wants to keep working with me. But yeah, I have my next proposal out, and I'm so excited. My desire with every book that I write is to be better than the one I wrote before. So I am a lifelong learner. I'm constantly going to conferences, taking master's classes, learning from other people who I have the opportunity to sit at their feet and listen to. It's just amazing. So this one is better, again, I hope. But it's a multi-tiered, multi-POV, multi-timeline novel, kind of along the line of God of the Woods. And it's also historical, in that there's a 1960 timeline, there's a 1998 timeline, and then there's today. So I'm super excited about that one. And it takes place on an island in the San Juans. So
Going back to the Northwest.
we are going back to the Northwest, yeah.
Did you and Aaron boat on Puget Sound?
Yeah, we have friends who have a cabin on Guaymas Island, which is just off of Anacortes, if you know where that is. Oh, it's breathtakingly beautiful. I love that island. So if you've ever been to Guaymas, Ironwood is the name of the island. So when it comes out, you can picture exactly where it is.
Oh, wonderful. So, do you have any questions that you would like to toss out this evening? Yeah, fire away.
Hi,
Thanks for breaking the ice.
thanks.
Yeah.
I haven't read your book, I just bought it.
Oh, thank you.
And while you were talking, I was going to ask you, because you have the first person and then the third person, is it every other chapter kind of thing?
Not quite. It's 3 chapters of present tense and then 1 past. So I think there's only 6 past tense chapters, and they're shorter than the other ones. It's just kind of a snippet of their lives.
Okay. And do you, when you end the present, does it somehow bleed into what you're going to be talking about with theirs?
It does. She asks, does the chapter before bleed into the next one in a certain way? And I always have a hook. You'll notice, if they're drinking a cup of tea, then maybe there's a cup of tea, or they're cleaning a cup of tea in the next chapter. So yeah, it's unintentional, and yet I like having a link between them to make it coherent.
I ask because I am currently on my 8,000th revision of a novel,
Oh,
and it
8,000th revision of her manuscript.
it's a lot of revisions.
not literally, but it feels like it,
I hear ya.
and it's back and forth,
Okay.
and it's hard for my brain to wrap around to make it work. So I'm now interested in your next book
Okay.
because it has so many multiple layers.
Have you read God of the Woods,
I
Liz
have
Moore?
not.
It's a really good book, and it's kind of a master class in multiple
okay.
POVs and timelines. At least I think it is. I really enjoyed it.
Good question, thank you. Who else? Yeah, over here.
I'm interested in hearing from both of you, when you wrote, some of your books, do you have the whole idea ending included in your mind, or does some of it unfold? You sometimes start and not really sure where it's gonna end.
So here's the question, and it's for both of us. When we're writing a story, do we essentially know the whole arc of the story when we begin the writing of it, or does that develop as we're writing it? What's your approach?
I do usually know the end. I didn't in the beginning. I used to just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. Authors will be either pantsers or plotters, like fly by the seat of my pants and see what happens, or I plot it all out. And if it's a spectrum, I lean more towards the plotting side of things. But to me, it's more like a map. Like I know where I'm starting, and I know where I'm going, and I know maybe 6 spots that I have to hit along the way, but how I get there is really up to me. So there's room for the creativity in it too, but I do need to know my endings. Although I do surprise myself sometimes. Yeah. So my book, Everything We Didn't Say, which came out 4 years ago, I wrote it 3 times. I wrote the first one, handed it in to my agent, and she was like, we're gonna have to get an extension on this. So we got a 6-month extension. I rewrote the book, deleted 75,000 words and rewrote them all. Handed it in to my agent. She was like, okay, we'll give it to your editor and see what she says. Gave it to my editor, and she had me rewrite another like 35,000. So I rewrote the book 3 different times. But it wasn't until the 3rd rewrite that I realized I had the murderer wrong. And when I finally realized it, it was like one of these eureka moments, but also I'm so stupid. How could I not have seen this? And no wonder it wasn't working. So as soon as I fixed that, it was fine.
Every writer needs a good editorial eye. There are just so many things when you're trying to put the whole thing together that you don't see.
Oh, for sure.
And you really need a great editor for that.
Best answer?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody who can't hear me? Because sometimes the hearing is an issue. Okay. The way I approach a story depends upon the kind of story I'm writing. My Cork O'Connor series are essentially mysteries. And as I tell audiences, a mystery is a very tightly woven fabric of storytelling. Every element depends so significantly on every other element. And I think that the success of a mystery depends largely on the timing of the reveals. When do you give the reader the clues that are going to be necessary to solving the mystery at the heart of it? So when I write a Cork O'Connor story, typically I try to think that story through as completely as I can before I ever put my fingers to the keyboard. At the end of that thinking process, which can go on weeks or even has gone on months, I know how the story begins, I know how it ends, I know who did what to whom and why, I know where I'm going to plant my red herrings, I know the moments of suspense I want to write to. I follow an entirely different approach with my standalone novels, Ordinary Grace, This Tender Land, The River We Remember. A mystery is an intellectual construct. It's a puzzle you create in your head. And while you're writing it, really the most important thing you're trying to keep together is all of the puzzle pieces have to fit perfectly. My standalones don't come from my head, they come from my heart. And I've always wanted a process that would allow the reader to feel like I'm telling you this story straight from my heart. So I have only had a general idea of what kind of story I wanted to create. And then I have launched into the writing of it and discovered the whole story, discovered the characters, the voice of that story as I'm writing it. Very different creative process. And I thought I would never approach a Cork O'Connor novel that way, but that's how I wrote my most recent novel without an outline. And it turned out pretty good. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm amazed by that because I often say I'm not smart enough to write a mystery without plotting it out. So you must be I know you're very, very smart. You've also done this many times. I'm impressed.
Well, that's sort of it.
Yeah.
I have been a storyteller for a very long time, and so I really relied on all of my instincts as a storyteller to create this particular novel. It worked. But I don't know that I'll do it with the next Cork O'Connor novel. We'll have to see. Who else?
Will there be a next?
We've got a question here.
We are Audible,
Uh-huh.
and in fact, we didn't know anything about Nicole.
That's fine.
Until-
But did you know about Nicole?
No,
Oh,
no.
well, what
So
the
I
hell are
already
you
got
doing
the
here?
book on my thing. But no, we learned about you from, we hike with people from Camino Island.
Oh, you do?
We go on a big hike every year, and last year on our hike, they said, hey, have you ever read these Cork O'Connor books? It's set in Minnesota, blah, blah, blah. We said, no. 21 books later.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh,
And this
wow.
1 year we read them all. But my question, and we will be, now we're on to you.
Thank you.
When you're here next year, she'll go, all 12, now 13.
We did skip one novel, we have to go back and read that last one, because we wanted to read Apostles' Hall. But anyway, how do you choose your narrators? Because to me, David Chandler is Cork O'Connor. And how did you get to him? How do you get to your narrators?
You better answer that because he is Cork O'Connor's voice.
Yeah, David Chandler does just a stellar job. He does a stellar job with lots of authors. If you know the Joe Pickett series by C.J. Box, he narrates those, reads those as well. I had no hand in choosing David. Because I'm just the author. But I gotta tell you this, I auditioned to be the reader.
Oh,
I
To be the
didn't
reader
get
for
the
your
job. And I'm glad they chose David because I think a good reader is kind of a form of genius. And imagine having to create unique voices for everyone in the novel and maintain those voices across the whole course of the work. Oh my God, I couldn't do that. So I had no hand in that. My standalone narrators I have had a part in. Typically we've had 3 audition tapes sent to us, and Danielle, our agent, and I will go through them and then we'll rank them. We like this voice best, this second best, this third best. And so we do have some input now.
Do you listen to your novels?
No, because they never read them the way I would. Those guys who made that decision not to give me the job, oh man. And you, have you had any?
Yeah. No, my process is exactly the same as his. I get audio samples and get to listen to them, and my agent and I, we have the same agent, so we do the same thing. But it's hard because you only listen for a couple of minutes, and then that person is going to read your book, 9 to 10 to 12 hours of that book, and I can't listen to them when they're done. I mean, I admire the people who do it. They're so good at what they do, and I've already had people say, I loved the audiobook. It was so well read. But for me, listening to it, I feel naked. I don't know why. Every time I turn it on, I'm like, I just feel so weird. You too? I can't listen.
Not weird.
Yeah.
I just, my editor just doesn't turn off.
No,
Oh,
sure.
wait a minute, no, that line deserves more emphasis. It's just lost,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
It feels like somebody's in my head. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's hard for me.
Back there.
Yeah, so, you're talking about having a good editor. I would hate to have to rewrite and rewrite, it would be like my baby, what do you mean, I have to fix this? So, what's the process like to actually come to the point where you embrace them and say, you're wonderful, I'm glad you're in my life?
So did you hear that? The question is about editing. How is it possible to go ahead and kill your darlings, tank 75,000 words,
Right, start
rewrite
over.
it,
Yeah.
and to the point where you can embrace it and really love what you've created?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Because I've never tossed 75,000 words.
You haven't?
Actually, I've tossed a whole manuscript.
Oh yeah. I've tossed a lot of things. I really have come to see, it probably wasn't this way in the beginning. It's hard to remember 20 years ago. Actually, my first book was barely edited. I handed it in and they were like, we love it, we'll buy it. And I changed a couple words, but that was basically it. It went out like that. And I think I thought that every book was going to be like that. It was very naive. And then when they started coming at me with real edits, like an editorial letter that was 12 pages long and had a lot of suggestions, I cried. Like, you could ask my husband. It was not good days. I'm eating chocolate at 10 o'clock in the morning and crying into my pillow because there's nothing else for me to do. But now, 12 books in, I really have come to appreciate that this is a team effort. It takes a whole lot of people to get their hands in it and shaping it and changing it, because my editor, my agent, everybody who's involved in the process, like I said, they love books. They love reading, and they want my book to sell as much as I want my book to sell, because they don't make money if I don't make money. So they want it to connect with as many people as possible, and they're reading it as readers. Like, if somebody picks this up and they don't like this character, chances are a lot of other people aren't going to like that character either, or they're not going to understand the motivations here. So I love the process now, because I'm like, oh, it's going to be better. And actually, on the cover, oh, it's not on the cover of the book. Oh, it is. Sorry, this is the advanced reader copy, so it's not quite the finished product. But there's a line on it that says, "In every world I'll find you," and that's something that Felix says to Sadie all the time. I didn't write that line. My foreign rights agent, Mariana, wrote that line.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's a beautiful
It's
line.
a beautiful line, like it makes the whole book, and it didn't even come from me. We were on a Zoom call together, and she was like, I really feel like Felix needs to say something to Sadie that's like gonna stick with her and kind of anchor this book. Like, in every world I'd find you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. So, yeah, I love the team effort.
Yeah, revision is not my favorite part of the job. I write very carefully, and when I send to our agent Danielle is the first reader for our, well, not necessarily the first reader, the first editorial eye that's brought to bear on our work, and I try to make sure that in my own thinking this is as good as I can possibly get it. I know that's not true. And like Nicole, when I get an editorial letter from Danielle, or even more from my actual editor at Simon & Schuster, the editor used to come as a letter. Now it's, first, it's an email. Before I open the email document that tells me all of the revisions that they think would make the book better, a vat of wine. And then once I'm settled in, and I'll read through all of the revision suggestions, and then I'll figure out, okay, where do I begin? Where can I begin? And once I have that starting point, everything begins to kind of fall into place after that fairly naturally. And when I am finished with that revision, I'm impressed with how well guided I was in the revision process. A good editor, you have a very collegial, you ought to have a very collegial relationship with your editor. The editor respects you as a writer, respects your prose, respects your idea, and you as a writer need to respect your editor's eye when they catch something that maybe could be stronger, better, clearer. So yeah, if you stay with an editor for a while,
I hope I can.
it becomes this very. It's more than just respect. There is more involved than just respect. There's this heartfelt connection that's all about trust. Really, that's what it comes down to. It's all about trust. Their side, my side.
So you don't think AI will?
That's a whole different game.
That's scary.
Oh yeah, it's a hornet's nest.
Question. Do you ever have to go to your editor and say, okay, I feel too passionately about this, we can't change, like how do you meet in the middle of that, and how passionate are you saying, no, we're not changing this? So that's gotta be hard too. I mean,
Yeah.
like you say, it's coming from your heart. How are you changing this? This is
So did you hear the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's nodding. You all heard the question? Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. I started with a little rule for myself, and I still kind of follow it to this day. 85%, I just accept. I feel like they have a wonderful, like they know their job, they went to school, they're doing, yeah, I just trust them. We're back to that trust. 10% I can push back on. So I go to them and say, oh, I disagree with you here. Can we talk about it? This is why I did this.
amazed that you're able to percentile.
I don't follow it that closely, but I try. Yeah.
I will at least seriously consider every suggestion that's made. And if I don't agree with it, I will explain my best, do my best to explain to my editor why I think we need to leave it this way. And very often what I get back is, oh yeah, we didn't think about it that way. But if it's something that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think there may be a point to it, I'll try to write it in a different way that satisfies them and also satisfies me.
There are certain things I won't budge on. I'm a mom of 5. My oldest is 27, my youngest is 15. I know kids. So if an editor is like, oh, a kid wouldn't do this, I'm like, yeah. I lived it. I know kids.
So here's a good example. Apostles' Cove is a book that is written in 2 time periods. It goes back 25 years in Cork's life when he believes he may have sent an innocent man to prison. And it comes forward 25 years for Cork reinvestigates that homicide to figure out what he got wrong, if in fact he did get anything wrong. And when I sent the manuscript to my editor, their first question was, do you think you could do it in a way where we would have 1 chapter in the past, 1 chapter in the present, 1 chapter in the past, 1 chapter in the present? And that's when I said, absolutely not. Because the energy of each of those stories needs to be maintained. You follow the arc of this particular story, then you follow the arc of this particular story. And when I explained it to them that night, they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
That's great. I trust you.
What else? Anything else here? Okay, we got one over here, then we'll come back.
How did your cover come together, the artwork on there?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because you have some gorgeous covers.
Thank you. I like my covers too. So we usually get to send, I don't know how you do it, we'll have to get to that, but I send comp covers, like ones that I really like and that I think evoke the feeling that I want people to have when they look at my cover. So I'll send those in, they'll come up with an idea, they'll send it back to me.
Comp covers?
Yeah.
What are comp
Do you not do
covers?
that?
No.
Like,
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
you don't do that. Well, I guess,
in the business?
yeah. I guess your covers all kind of follow the same.
There's a theme.
There's a
that runs
theme to
through
them, yeah.
a
So,
general look.
yeah. So my books are all standalone. They're all kind of different and.
But what is a comp cover?
Like
comparable
a comparable cover.
Okay,
Like like here's 8 covers that I think really evoke what we want people to feel when they see this cover, like what we want it to look like essentially. So Danielle and I do that.
Okay.
And Mariana, we spend days pulling it together and sending it in. And then they come up with a cover, and the first one that they came back with was like navy and gray and blue and black, and it was very noir and very like crime fiction-y, and it was a great cover, but it was not the right fit. So we went back and we were like, we think this missed the mark. Like it's
Could
not.
I see the book?
Yeah. It's not what we were looking for. And we really wanted stars on the cover, and there were, but they kind of got lost, unfortunately. But I like where we landed. I'm really happy with this cover.
They did some research. I read about this early on in my career when I would make suggestions about the covers and they would never pay any attention to me. That lighted cabin, dark woods, is a huge selling point in a cover for whatever reason. Yeah, but this is lovely. I love that splash of red over there, reddish orange over there. Suggestion of the cosmos.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
I like it too.
So yeah, it is a collaborative process. Thank God now. And when we get a cover. Very seldom is it like, oh, we love this. Usually it's, we love some of this, we don't like this, and then we go back and forth. And usually by the 3rd iteration, we've got a cover we all love.
I'm gonna be proud of it.
Yeah.
My question was, when you're working on your however many revisions that you've been through before you give it to like a beta reader or whatever, is there a point where you're like, I don't see anything at all in this book anymore. Like it's just,
It's called end of book syndrome. You're just sick of it.
yes.
Nothing feels fresh.
I didn't wanna say that.
Nothing feels fresh.
Oh, no.
I don't know, that's for me.
That's for me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So last week, I was painting. I had a day. Well, actually 2 weeks ago, I was on tour last week. But I was painting in my house. I completely forgot that I had an interview with the local paper, and I'm the messiest painter you've ever seen in your life. So I'm literally covered from head to toe in paint. I look absolutely terrible. And all of a sudden, the doorbell rings. I'm like, oh. Totally forgot this kid was coming, like brand new, fresh out of college kid to interview me. And I open the door and he says to me, "So I guess you want to take the picture another day?" Yep, that'd be great. Thanks for understanding. But my point was, when the article came out in the local paper, the final line of the article was, "Bart says that when she's done with the book, she's so sick of it, she doesn't even want to talk about it anymore." That's the final.
One more question.
Final line.
Fiona, you had a question.
I'm really, I have not read any of your books before, but I'm really excited to read this one that I just bought. I'm just wondering if you have any guidance, as to where to go next in your books. Is there another one that you would recommend for my next
Thank
book
you.
of yours?
I would go to Everything We Didn't Say. That came out 4 years ago. It was the first book that landed in People magazine, and it was also a Book of the Month pick. So if you're a Book of the Month member, you can still get it from there. So I love that one. That was it's a murder mystery that takes place in Iowa. So very Midwestern. Thank you. Thanks.
Folks, we want to thank you all for coming out this evening. It's been I had a great time.
I had a
Jim,
great time.
I hope you folks had a good time as well. We're going to be over there signing for you. And thank you for buying your books from your local independent and not that huge entity.
Thanks for letting me speak.
You could buy one of Why don't you each buy a different one, and then you can switch it.
Can I get it on Libby?
I don't know. We're here.
You are here.
Hey guys, how are you? Don't mind me carrying my wife's purse here.
Where did you meet you?
I was hanging out in the back. Yeah, me and Diane, Ken's wife.
Oh.
We hang out in the back.
You've heard the story.
Yes, a little bit.
What's her tone?
Once or twice. Well, look at that.
It's in the neighborhood.
Is this not far from you guys? Yeah, because you're more north, right?
Let's go.
Good. Yeah, making that kind of combo. She's doing some work stuff and doing chapel meal tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of
Which campus?
East.